You really don't need me to tell you this, but we all know we all need a good amount of sleep, especially when working on the railroad, even as engineer. If you have a good amount of rest, or sleep for that matter, then you have nothing to worry about. However, if you don't get a good amount of rest or sleep, it can be catastrophic. And that's exactly what happened at Delia 27 years ago, when one man went on duty without getting sleep or rest for over 12 hours, and that day cost him his life. This is the story of the 1997 Delia train collision. Wednesday, July 1st, 1997. Union Pacific train MP-01 departed Kansas City, Kansas at 10:10 p.m. bound for North Platte, Nevada. The train made a stop at Bonner Springs, Kansas to pick up more cars before continuing its journey. The train consists of two engines, Union Pacific SD40-2 number 3616 and Southern Pacific SD45R 7519. On board the train were a crew of two, an engineer and a conductor, both awakened, especially the engineer, or so it seems, because according to his wife, he has been awakened for 13 hours. Take note for what I just said, because this is important, and we will come back to that later. Meanwhile, Union Pacific train ME-29 was getting ready for its departure out of Marysville, Kansas, with an engineer and a conductor on board, 5 locomotives, and 38 cars loaded with nothing but TOFC. The locomotives in charge of this train were Union Pacific SC60M 6129, C40-8 9241, Southern Pacific SC40M-2 number 8599, UP SC40-2 number 3696, and finally UP SC60 6010. The next hour or so for both trains was completely normal. It was just a routine trip for both trains without any issues, for now. Both trains were approaching the Canfic siding. According to the dispatcher, the plan was to put the MP01 train from the main to the siding to allow ME29 to pass through on the main, and once ME29 clears, MP01 can continue on its trip. However, that plan didn't go as expected. MP01 would soon switch from the main to the siding. The first sign of trouble came when the crew of ME29 noticed that MP01's headlights were still on high beam. They soon tried to contact MP01 on the radio several times, but no response. But eventually, by the time they were getting closer to each other, MP01's headlights will finally switch from high beam to low beam, but the danger has only just begun. ME29 continues to fly down the main without noticing that anything else was unusual, until MP01 crashes into ME21's train at 2:15 a.m., derailing MP01's engines. Some of the cars from MP01 and some recalls from ME-29. The left side from both engines from MP-01 was somewhat intact. Unfortunately, the right sides were not so lucky, suffering both fire and collision damage. Sadly, the engineer of MP-01 lost his life. His conductor survived, but did suffer minor injuries. So what happened? Well, the crew of MP-01 was sleeping on the job? Okay, so before we move on to the investigation itself, there is something that needs to be noted. Although the engineer failed to acknowledge a red signal, according to the NTSB, the reason why, though, remains a mystery. So, let's go back just a few minutes before the disaster occurred. We'll recap what the conductor of MP-01 told the NTSB, the events that followed from his point of view, and at the same time, I'm going to present to you a few possible speculations. Are you ready? Okay, let's rewind. Now, according to the conductor of LP-21, he said that he didn't notice anything unusual about the engineer during their trip, saying that he didn't feel tired, no signs of fatigue, ill, he was just being normal. And as the train was approaching a yellow signal at Soldier Creek, he stated that he was having a slight stomach problem and went down to the bathroom in the nose of the lead engine. But little did the conductor know that the engineer did not get any rest for 13 hours. And without knowing, the train was about to be doomed in minutes. So, by the time the train reached Soldier Creek at Delia, while the conductor was in the bathroom, that things started to go very, very wrong. It's believed by the time the conductor went to the bathroom that the engineer was feeling fatigue. As MP-01 and ME-29 were getting closer and closer on opposite tracks, that is when the crew of ME-29 noticed that the high beam on MP-21 was still on. While it's possible that the engineer fell asleep at that time, my speculation suggests that although he's feeling fatigue, he probably just forgot to switch it to low beams, because it has happened before on rare occasions. Even to this day, there are times where engineers just forgot to turn off the high beams as the other train is approaching the opposite track. Again, because they're feeling the effects of fatigue. Now moving on to the radio part. Again, ME-29 was trying to contact MP-01. Again, no response. The reason? Probably still sleeping. Or another factor is that the radio was non-functional. Again, has happened before. Now, before we move on to the disaster itself, there is one question that still needs to be answered. Why did the engineer not acknowledge the red signal until the last second? While fatigue and him falling asleep are the culprits, because the engineer did not turn off his high beams, he may have thought the signal up ahead is actually yellow and not red. Again, it has happened before, but that's a tale for another time. So, in the final few moments, after the engineer realized his error, he immediately applies the emergency brakes, and after the conductor got out of the bathroom, he told the engineer what happened. With the engineer responding, "I cannot get it to stop." Then disaster strikes. Indian UP3616 and SP7519 were both burned, damaged beyond repair, and scrapped. The other 5 locomotives were quickly put back into service. It's been 28 years since that deadly collision occurred. As always, this is not the first time a collision occurred like this, but that's a story for another day.